Let's see what we can do. I don't think that we have to go through everything here, so let's just see what we can find. We got the crypt, obviously, in the outskirts of Vizima. The detective house. As in many large cities of the north, in Vizima one can enlist the services of private investigators and expert in sensitive issues, discreet investigations, and tracking subjects. Detective Raymond Marleuf is available at his office day and night. God, I can't pronounce his name. The city dungeon. The dungeon is where those criminals unlucky enough to fall into the hands of city guard are kept. Prisoner turnover in the jail is relatively high. Some are released, usually returned after a while others are executed on a scaffold. Captain Vincent Mace of the city guard is the jail's warden. The dungeon affords access to the sewers, which run under the entire city of Vizima. Got the Harry Bear Inn. It's a place of indiscriminate clientele. The innkeeper obviously holds back on the lie, though he waters down the ale generously enough. Patrons share the thin mattresses with rats, but most everyone can find their entertainment of choice here. Illegal fistfight enthusiasts, hustlers, and drunkards will all find something to do at the Hairy Bear. It is said that you can even buy the illegal truck Fistek here, provided you can find a dealer named Coleman, which is now dead, obviously. Kaer Morhen. Kaer Morhen is an inaccessible mountain stronghold which has been the headquarters of the Witchers Guild for centuries. The name comes from the language of the elves. The original Kaer Morhen translates into Old Sea Fortress. The castle's time of greatness has passed. The battlements and moat have deteriorated, and a cold wind blows through the spacious halls. Currently, only a handful of witches live there. But once many young boys underwent gruesome training along the infamous Gauntlet near Kaer Morhen. Gauntlet, that's the training path of the witches, where you have to go over obstacles, be as fast as possible, and have basically a lot of witcher training with reflexes and strength and endurance. And they called it the Gauntlet. Laboratory. The famous Witcher Laboratory holds the most closely guarded secrets of the castle: mutagenic plants, hallucinogenic mushrooms, and natural stimulants and potion ingredients. It is here that young apprentices were subjected to incredibly painful trial of the grasses, which only a few survived, gaining superhuman abilities in return. We get a non-human district, obviously, the sewers, Shani's home, St. Lebioda's hospital. The hospital, named after the prophet Lebioda, was set up in the former temple of Melitele. To this day, a triple-bodied statue of the goddess stands inside. Nurses and novices work there, trying to help those struck by the plague. It is not a pleasant place, filled with the mourns and suffering and the stench of their excretions. Those who do not survive the disease, meaning the overwhelming majority, are thrown into a pit behind the hospital. Every once in a while, the bodies are burned to prevent the plague from spreading. Recently, the Order of the Flaming Rose placed the hospital under its protection. I didn't know that. Okay, swamp. Across the lake from Vizima lies a large area of marshlands, which is home to small human communities, but also to various monsters. It's not safe there even during the day. A drown or a bloodsuckler can spring from the murky water at any moment. The casual traveler should also be mindful of the misleading will-o'-the-wisps, which have a tendency to lure unwary adventurers further and further into the swamp until they become mired in mud and perish. To reach the swamp, one must hire ferrymen at a dike in Vizima and take the boat across the lake. A group of lumberjacks works deep within the marshlands, making money by selling lumber to Vizima's craftsmen. They are led by a dwarf named Yaron Bold, who rules a small community with an iron fist. The swamp is home to brickmakers who make their living excavating and firing clay. There's a small, secluded village where life proceeds at its own pace. A somewhat crazed woman named Vaska leads them. The misty marshes hide many secrets. For example, there's a small clearing where statues of powerful golems are half buried in the mud as if frozen mid-step. One of them is particularly unsettling, towering ominously over the clearing. Temeria. Temeria's population is not exclusively human. It also includes dwarves, elves, gnomes, dryads. After the devastating war with Nilfgaard, many areas are haunted by monsters, which have hitherto not constituted a serious threat, while the realm's roads are made unsafe by outlaws and common bandits. As a result, the witcher profession is once again in demand, though people continue to treat witches with caution and disdain, often calling them mutants and freaks. The kingdom of Temeria has silver lilies on a black background as its emblem. This powerful country has gained ever more influence in recent years under the wise rule of King Foltest. Across the Ponta River, the kingdom borders Redania. To the south and east, it's hemmed in by mountain ranges, including Mahakam, the mainstay of dwarves and gnomes. Past which lie the lands of Lyria and Aedirn. The capital of Temeria is Vizima, lying on the shore of Lake Vizima. The second largest city is Maribor. Temeria, by the way, Maribor is the home of Trismerigold, in case you didn't know. Temeria mints its own coin, the Orn. The most widespread religions are the cult of Melitele and the belief in the eternal fire. Temeria is home of the headquarters and many commandeers of the Order of the Flaming Rose. The Temple Quarter. The Temple Quarter of Vizima is strangely reminiscent of a quarrelsome, dirty prostitute who, despite her disagreeable appearance and personality, remains somehow alluring. This may be because of the uncomplicated, illicit entertainment it offers, always a temptation. Beggars, shady characters, scowling poor folk, frustrated non-humans, and of course ladies occupy every corner. Recently, Vizima's temple quarter was cut off from the rest of the world by the threat of an epidemic. The few city guards patrol that come here try not to venture too far into the quarter's dark alleys where brutal deeds take place each night. At the center of Vizima's temple quarter stands St. Lebioda's Hospital, the only place of solace for the poor and the plague victims. Alongside the hospital, alongside the hospital stands the headquarters of the Order of the Flaming Rose, which tries to combat local crime. The Cloister of the Order. There's really only one heaven of law and order in the temple quarter of Vizima. It is the Cloister, the seat of the Order of the Flaming Rose. Crimson banners embroidered with a rose hang before the entrance. Only authorized personnel can enter. Inquiries should be directed to Siegfried, whose office is in one of the buildings belonging to the Order. The outskirts, obviously, and we got Sericania. Sericania is a mysterious land located in the far south. The northern kingdoms have very little to do with that realm. Not a lot is known about Sericania. Its climate is hot, exotic animals roam the land, and the inhabitants worship dragons. Furthermore, Sericania is famous for its alchemists, who specialize in pyrotechnics, and for its tattooed warrior woman who has skilled in the use of sabers. Yeah, we came across some of them in one of the short stories, I think. Especially one with the golden dragon. We got monsters. And the glossary. I think we're going to the glossary a little bit, and then we're going to the monsters. Got additional substances. An alchemical ingredient can contain one of three additional substances: albedo, nigrido, or rubido. If all of the ingredients chosen for the creation of a potion have identical additional substances, the resulting potion will provide additional benefit beyond its basic effect. Albedo potions means that you have lower toxicity. Nigrido potions affect coordination and concentration, increasing damage inflicted on opponents. And rubido potions, aside from the potion's primary effect, it also regenerates lost vitality, which is very useful. It's really a shame that we didn't find a lot of rubido potions until now. Catriona, a disease which quickly spread through all the northern countries after the war with Nilfgaard. Those who suffer from Catriona die a terrible death. Their convulsions become stronger each day, they vomit blood and mucus, and have bloody diarrhea. After a fortnight or so, they die in agony. Oh, that doesn't sound pleasant at all. And we got Cutridge and Fen, which are obviously characters from the books. A famous pair of lawyers who ran a firm in Dorian until both partners died tragically under mysterious circumstances. Basically, they were murdered. At its height, the firm was retained by people from all over Temeria. If someone had difficulties, troubles, problems, they went to Codritter and Fen. So the firm's clients quickly received proof of dishonesty and malpractice by their business partner. They could count on receiving credits from a bank without insurance or security. As one of the long lists of creditors, they would be the only one to exact what was due from the company declaring bankruptcy. Their son would be released from the dungeon and cleared of all charges based either on irrefutable evidence or lack thereof, because if evidence existed, it disappeared mysteriously while witnesses retracted any earlier testimony. The wife's lover or the daughter's suitor would suffer complicated fractures in 3 limbs, including at least one upper one, all as a result of an unfortunate accident, and an enemy with a grudge or some other troublesome individual would soon stop being a nuisance, often vanishing into thin air. That's how Codritter and Fen worked. Yeah, dirty business, but they got the job done. The conjunction of the spheres, a very, very important event in the world of The Witcher. A cataclysm which occurred 1,500 years ago, trapping in our dimension many unnatural creatures, including ghouls, graviers, vampires, and all others. These beasts have no ecological niches on their own and are merely relics of bygone times. According to elven lore, humans arrived during the conjunction, their own world having been destroyed. These human ancestors learned how to harness the power of primordial chaos, and thus the first human wizards were born. Looking for a place in the world, humans took up arms against the elder races who were unable to withstand the barbarians and ultimately surrendered. This is how humans came to rule the world. Very bloody and very hostile, as we know humans, obviously. Yeah, we already know a little bit something about the cult of Melitele, but let's just read it. Among the numerous fates of the Nordlings, the most widespread is the cult of Melitele, the goddess in 3 forms: young girl, woman, and crone. Melitele is the mother goddess extending her care over children. Her following is not solely composed of women, men pray to her as well. Clerics of Melitele preach love and peace. They run many hospitals, shelters, and orphanages. The cult of the Eternal Fire. Worshippers of the Eternal Fire believe in the undying flame as a symbol of survival and guide through darkness. They view it as harbinger of progress and better days to come. Clerics of the Eternal Fire oversee the faithful as well as their temples, where flames burn continuously. The Order of the Flaming Rose is the cult's militant arm. Then we have the cult of the Lionhead Spider. Coram Arcter, called the Lionhead Spider, is a cruel deity who expects blood sacrifices from their worshippers. The cult of the Lionhead Spider is banned, and there are but a few places in the world where adherents can openly declare their faith. Temeria strives to eradicate the belief in the Lionhead Spider, and the cultists are tried as murderers. Dwarves. Dwarves are shorter than humans, but tougher and more muscular. Male dwarves wear long beards. They are usually gruff, but can be merry and are renowned for their stubbornness. Considered excellent craftsmen and warriors, many have earned grudging acceptance in human society. Still, it is not uncommon for young dwarves to join the Scoia'tael rebels to fight for more rights for non-humans and an end to persecution. Dwarves are one of the elder races. They were once a dominant race along with the elves, but now their sole enclave is Mahakam, a mountain city rich in metal and mineral deposits. Of all other races, the dwarves have assimilated the best, and many now live in human cities. They run business and are often wealthy, although they meet with disdain and distrust. During the war with Nilfgaard, dwarves made a name for themselves as mercenaries, although many of them also fought in Scoia'tael commando units against the northern kingdoms. You got the elves. Whoa, that is a lot. After gnomes, elves are the eldest race on the continent. They created a magnificent civilization, and the greatest human cities, like Vizima and Oxenford, were built upon the elven ruins. Elves also have a special affinity for magic, although their magic is different from that of humans. Elves are long-lived, yet the reproductive period of their lives ends quite early, and moreover, they reproduce more slowly than humans. This is why they were defeated, the reason why they lost their preeminence in the world. Today, only two enclaves of the race remains: the Blue Mountains, where the elves suffer privation and are dying out, and Dol Platana, the Valley of Flowers, which is ruled by the sorceress Enid on Glenna, which is Francesca Findebear. The Valley of Flowers is a dependency of Nilfgaard, and they call themselves a free state, nonetheless. Elves are a beautiful and long-lived race. They have pointed ears, sharp features, and possess no canine teeth. Elves are arrogant and proud, and over many centuries they have developed a high and sophisticated culture. Few remain today, however, and these are in constant conflict with human civilization. That is why so many young elves, eager to fight for their rights, join Scoia'tael commando units. Elves don't discuss their fate in the presence of humans because they think the barbarians will be unable to grasp its philosophical and mystical subtleties. Most humans, on the other hand, don't care about elven beliefs. It is a fact that some elves believe in Dana Meheb, the mother goddess, who seemed to be an embodiment of the goddess Melitele. Fistek. Well, we know it's a drug, so... Gnomes. Gnomes are secretive and mysterious. Most of them live in Mahakam and are allied with the dwarves. They seldom interact with humans. Gnomes are talented craftsmen, miners, and inventors. Their technology is superior to that of humans, and gnome weapons can be equaled by no others. They are also considered the eldest race on the continent, and obviously the most neutral one, in my personal opinion. Ithlin's Prophecy. An old elven prophecy about the end of the world. The wolf's blizzard approaches, the time of the sword and axe, the time of the white frost and the white light, the time of madness and disdain. Tet Dere. The final age. The world will perish amidst ice and be reborn with the new sun. Reborn of elder blood, of Heng Isher, of a planted seed. A seed that will not sprout, but burst into flames. Ithlin, an elven prophetess, is famous for her foretelling of the end of the world. According to her prophecy, the world will be destroyed by an ice age and all humans will die. The only survivors will be elves, saved by an offspring of the elder blood, known also as the Swallow. Several signs will herald the destruction of the world, and the cataclysm will begin when elven blood soaks the earth. This will mark the advent of the time of disdain, the axe, and the wolf's blizzard, which can be interpreted as a long war or a return to barbarism. Mages. Only rare individuals have the potential to become mages, and many of those with this potential are doomed to madness, unless the individual in question, also known as a source, learns to control their power quickly. He or she may end up a half-insane, slobbering oracle. That is why schools of sorcery were created, where talented children study for many years, acquiring knowledge and mastering magical skills. Because of their powers, mages age more slowly than ordinary people. They can extract magical energy from the four elements, transport themselves long distances, and heal as well as kill in the blink of an eye. They have extensive scientific and political knowledge. In the latter respect, many mages are the equal of rulers. And then, of course, the source of the power of the mages, magic. Magic is the art of bending the power of chaos to one's will. Practitioners of the art must master a vast and complicated corpus of knowledge, and it seems women have a special predisposition for it. Sorcerers seek out talented children and teach them. The power bound in spell formula may be used for healing, teleportation, destruction, creating illusions, and altering form. The most famous spells are named after their creators, like for example Elso Thunder or Marigold's Hailstorm. Thanks to magic, it is also possible to create magical glyphs and amulets such as the Witcher's Medallions. The Witcher's signs are very simple spells, mostly kinetic or mind-influencing. To use them, one needs concentrated will and a hand gesture. Casting signs is not time-consuming, so witchers use them when fighting monsters. Medical science. For many centuries, disease have plagued mankind, yet when Jan Becker subjected the power to his will, people gained a powerful weapon in their fight against disease. Majors study bacteria and viruses, the way germs spread, as well as genetics. The research is used by medics who set up hospitals and produce increasingly effective medicines. There are also magical potions capable of healing wounds and internal injuries. Many magic users, such as Marty Sodergren or Vicenna, have become healers, traveling the world and using their magic for the good of others. Autopsies are not universally approved of in criminal investigations. However, experts acknowledge the value of forensically examining a corpse after witnesses have been questioned and experts consulted. An autopsy can provide valuable information on the identity of a victim and on the precise means by which a crime was committed. While performing an autopsy, you should ask detailed questions based on the knowledge you possess. By rejecting impossibilities one by one, you may ultimately find that the truth lies in the most unlikely of hypotheses. We got the Order of the Flaming Rose. The Order of the Flaming Rose was established after the war with Nilfgaard by a charismatic leader, Jacques the Aldersberg, on the foundations of the deteriorating Order of the White Rose. The Aldersberg aim was to protect the people from monsters and other evils and to promote belief in the eternal fire. The Order's headquarters are located in Vizima, with numerous commentaries spread across the whole of Temeria. Scoia'tael. The Scoia'tael are a group of elven and dwarven rebels fighting against the discrimination of non-humans. They are divided into commando groups or independent squads. Their protest against racism quickly turned to violence. Scoia'tael rob merchant caravans, plunder and burn villages and kill. Instead of finding a peaceful solution, humans sent troops to fight them. Scoia'tael means squirrel in Elven, and the name probably comes from the rebels' habit of attaching squirrel tails to their clothing. And last but not least, we have the Witchers. Due to their otherness, unusual abilities and magical skills, Witchers are treated as outcasts and sometimes even met with hatred. This hatred was made manifest during the infamous attack on Kaer Morhen, which led to the destruction of the fortress and the death of most of the Witchers wintering there. Those who survived are doomed to extinction since they no longer train successors. People need Witchers but are simultaneously afraid of them. The itinerant warriors inspire fear because they are mutants and have superhuman powers. A Witcher is rarely a welcome guest, and contacts with members of this profession are almost always limited to business. Witchers are invariably attacked during pogroms and social upheavals directed against those who deal in magic. Mutagens and magic render witches' bodies resistant to all kinds of disease, even to the point of outright immunity.